kids, we're going to talk about some weak language, and what I need for you to do is go to the section in your writing journal where you have your idea lists and word lists. And here's what's going to happen. And you can kind of choose what's going to work for you, and I would base that on my handwriting size. I'm going to put all of mine on one page, but I write pretty small. If you write fairly large, you may want to put 2 pages together. One thing we're going to do is write the examples of the 5 weak things that writers will say. It's not the only 5, but it's 5 for now. And then the other thing that we're going to do is glue this chart. And so if you take this chart that's on the front table and make it go flush with the bottom of the page, it leaves you about 3 inches or so at the top. I'm going to be able to squeeze my work into here using different colors. If you know your handwriting is fairly large, I would come over here and do the work, the quick note taking that I'm going to do on this side. So if you're going to use one page, get this page glued first. If you're going to use 2, it doesn't matter if you get that page first or you wait. So these notes are going to be called very simply weak language. And so as we've talked about, as writers, our goal is to make sure that our message is clear for the reader, because we know what it is we're trying to say, but we need to make sure that the reader is on board with us, because quite frankly, at the end of the day, you communicating your message is for the people whom you are communicating for. So we are going to write down different weak language elements and then how to fix those things. So one of the weak language is the word stuff. Stuff and even things in the same area. Stuff and things are what we call vague. We don't know what that means, because stuff to you or things to you means something different. We often use that when we're not sure how to define something to make it more clear. And so they get to be vague. And so the way to fix that is to define or eliminate. If you cannot think of a thing to say instead of things, just get rid of the word all on its own. Stuff is something that is inside of pillows, that's stuffing, but otherwise, or in a double stuff Oreo cookie, but other than that, you need to basically eliminate it or define what stuff and things mean, okay? The next word that we are going to take a look at that can be weak language is I think, feel, believe, really anything that starts with that I right there. The reason that it's weak is it creates this idea of, well, it's just not strong, because I don't want to say mistrust, but it kind of leaves this idea of, well, I'm going to put mistrust, but that's not necessarily the right word. If you can think of a better word, please come tell me. But what happens is your reader is like, oh, well, just the writer thinks that, therefore it's not truth. And so you want to make it so that it's not just about what you think and what you feel, but that it is about the truth as you see it, but you don't have to put that part in there. So basically with I think, I feel, I believe, you just delete it. If you delete that, if you feel that you write that on there and then you delete it off of the top of it, it'll sound just fine usually, or you may have to rework a couple of things, but overall the saying's going to work just fine. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about, I'm gonna have to squeeze here a little bit. So remember, if you're got little handwriting, make it work. Is the idea of very or really. Usually these words are used to create an emphasis, and the reason that they're weak language is they're really just unnecessary. I wonder if unnecessary only has one end, but that's okay, we're going to pretend. Usually if you're saying that something's really cold or it's very cold outside, you could just say that it's freezing. And so usually here you're using 2 words when one will do, which is the chart that I have given you down here, that it says words to use instead of very. I could also add really on here because you don't need to say that someone's very mean. You can say that they're cruel. So really and very are unnecessary. Instead, you choose new word. Okay. There's two more that we're going to talk about. I'm going to lump them together just for the sake of space, even though they are a little bit, I mean, obviously a little bit different. One of them is going to be ing words. And there, I saw this one. I don't know, I don't do this one as much, but I can see where they're going. Was, is, are, am. And basically, these are what's called passive voice. They're not committed words. They're words that, well, I was going to go to the store. Well, I went to the store. I thought about going to the store. And so being able to, this one again, I'm not as clear with. I have trouble finding these oftentimes in my own writing, except for the ing words. They can just come across as passive and non-committal. They're not as strong as picking another word to get your point across. So because these are passive, usually you can find a more like a strong verb. Again, it's that committing to your cause rather than being passive about the cause. And passive just means like, yeah, you know, kind of, I guess. You know, whereas to be committed is like, this is how it is. And so it's kind of that idea of kind of, sort of, I guess, versus this is the reality. And so those are the ing words, and the am, is, are, was, were. And again, I do the ings a lot in my writing. And so this is one I need to work on quite a bit with this passive voice. I haven't noticed these as much in mine, but I haven't actually looked for them. So now I may. So here's what I want for you to think about as a writer. Okay, we all do one of these. Okay, and I don't care what your thing is. Maybe you do all of them and you're like, oh my goodness. Pick one that you can go into. Usually it's going to be this very, really, or stuff and things for you all. And I want for you to go into a piece of your writing. And I want for you to look at a 1 or 2 page spread, depending on what you're doing, and skim for these words. Skim for stuff, things, very, or really. And I want for you to highlight them or circle them. And then I want for you to decide what it is you're going to do. If you find stuff, are you going to define what stuff means, or are you going to eliminate stuff? Okay, if you find a very or a really in front of an adjective, go down to this chart here. And is there something on here that would help you be more exact in the language that you are trying to communicate? Okay, so go ahead and find something and then come show me what you did. If you did a nice chart or something for this, come show me that as well. And yeah, good luck. Have fun. Don't be weak.